You should try to only run when the enemies can't hear you, or if you're
I've
playing,
never watched this
you
video,
can tell
but
whether or not enemies can hear you by the big sound circle around your character on the minimap. Some good times to run in Valorant are rotating from one site to another, rushing with your team into a site, or if the enemy team knows about your position already. Walking and running are cool and all, but crouching is what you want to do if you're trying to take cover, shoot more accurately, or just crab walk around. Jumping in Valorant is vital to get you into cool spots on top of bomb sites or anywhere else you can reach. You can jump by pressing space, but a lot of people also bind jump to their scroll wheel up or down. Jumping does make a sound cue in Valorant, so you should do it situationally if you're trying to be quiet. Now that we've covered the basics of movement in Valorant, I want to talk about strafing. All strafing is moving either a couple steps to the left or to the right. The best way to utilize strafing is by combining it with bursting. Burst strafing is arguably the most powerful shooting technique in Valorant. Here's what it looks like for an example. To burst strafe, you should shoot 3 to 4 bullets at a time, do a strafe, and then shoot again. You can repeat this until you win your gunfight, but this is a good shooting technique to practice. Now that you understand the basics about aiming and movement, let's talk about how to peek and position yourself for success. The way you peek and position yourself in Valorant can oftentimes be the difference between a platinum player and
peeking is kind of like swinging.
peeking properly while also positioning yourself for success. So let's start with peeking first. Now, the most important thing to
Same
understand
term.
about peeking is that the further you are away, the less time the enemies will have to react to your peek. You should peek further away, like this. Basically, the closer you are to the enemy when swinging around a wall, the faster the enemy can see you in Valorant. So when you peek from further away, you're minimizing the advantage that the enemy holding an angle has. A couple common ways of peeking in Valorant are jiggle peeking and wide swinging. Jiggle peeking is usually used to get
Where are you at in the video?
Jump peeking.
Okay. I was just at jiggle peeking, so you're like right ahead of me, I think.
full swing around the corner.
Or like,
People combine jumping with
yeah,
jiggle
jump peeking.
as well because it makes you a lot harder to hit while you gather information.
Long swings are good.
Swinging, as the
Like
name
wide
suggests,
swing.
is used to just swing wide around corners. But when you wide swing, make sure you do it very confidently because if you half commit to a wide swing,
But it's good to do small little swings to check the small angles, and then you do a big swing after you check the angles.
you should always position yourself in a spot where you're isolating one gunfight at a time. Being exposed to multiple angles is like taking a gamble a lot of times, especially if multiple enemies are alive. You always want to play the highest odds of survival in Valorant. And one way to help you do that is playing around your team. If you see one of your teammates is holding an angle, you should try to hold his back. That way you both create a crossfire where you can swing off each other's contact at any time. Now, after all this talk about Valorant's mechanics, you might be wondering about the economy system, and we've got you covered. Valorant's economy system is based around credits, which you can use to purchase guns and abilities. At the start of a Valorant game and the start of the second half, everyone will receive 800 free credit. There are a lot of ways to earn more credits, such as killing enemies, planting the spike, and winning or losing rounds rewards them as well. Killing an enemy will net yourself 200 credits, while planting the spike will give your whole team 300 credits each. When your team wins a round, you will be given 3,000 credits. However,
After losing 3 consecutive rounds, you only get 2,900 credits.
Yeah.
After losing 3 or more consecutive rounds, your team will cap out at 2,900 credits a round. Now that you've learned about credits and how to get them, you should probably know how to use them properly. And for that, there's a lot of different options gun-wise. For pistols, there's the classic, shorty, frenzy, ghost, and the sheriff. For submachine guns, the options are
This is a great video.
the Stinger and the Scout. For rifles, there's the bulldog, guardian, phantom, and the vandal. For sniper rifles, the marshal and the operator are the only options. And finally, for machine guns, you have the Ares as a cheap option and the Odin for a more expensive one. That can be a lot of information, but here's what guns you should be buying. On pistol round, I would recommend either keeping the classic and buying light shield with some extra abilities, or purchasing a frenzy with abilities. The ghost can be good as well if you like to be precise. If you win the pistol round, you should force up and win the second round as well. This allows you to
Forcing up is a big thing that no one ever learns. That
the reason we call this a bonus round
it's a good thing to learn early.
get a free shot at ruining the other team's economy on this round. Since you have decent weaponry from the second round, it's very possible to win it and get a bunch of weapon upgrades for your team. After the first 3 rounds, you should really focus on getting as many rifle rounds in as possible. Rifle rounds are rounds where you and your team can afford vandals and phantoms with shield. To do this, you should try not to spend a lot on rounds where your teams are low on economy, otherwise known as eco rounds. On eco rounds, some really good guns to buy for not a lot of money are the shorty, sheriff, stinger, or the marshal. All of these guns have the potential to melt through enemies for not a lot of investment. Now, on rounds where your team does have money, you should prioritize buying either a phantom or a vandal, as these are
He didn't say the Spectre, but the Spectre is a good save gun.
the best guns in Valorant. Phantom is really good for close range engagements since the damage at close range is the same as a vandal, but with a higher rate of fire. However, the phantom does have a damage fall off at longer ranges. The vandal, on the other hand, has no damage fall off and will always be a one-shot kill to the head or 4 shots to the chest. So between the two, it is really just personal preference, but I would take into account where you plan on playing around and buy based around that. The operator can be a good purchase, but usually only on defense, and it's especially powerful on agents like Jet or Chamber, since these agents have a means of escape. Now, if you're ever curious whether you should buy in a round, I would recommend holding tab to see what your team is doing and buy with them. Even if you think they're making a poor decision by saving or force buying, it's better to do it as a team than solo. Moving on, the next topic we'll cover is maps and their layouts in Valorant. The most common map layout in Valorant is the 3-lane map. The reason it's called a 3-lane map is because it has a middle and a main entrance to either bomb site. All the 3-lane maps in Valorant are Split, Ascent, Icebox, Breeze, and Pearl. However, some maps like Lotus and Haven have 3 bomb sites, so there's a lot more options for the attackers on those maps. And the other 2 maps, Bind and Fracture, are somewhat similar to each other since both have their own quirk. Bind has teleports and Fracture has the zip lines. Both also have 2 entrances into each site compared to the 3-lane maps where you have 1 entrance to each site and a middle entrance. These 2 maps
This map stuff's a lot of information.
Now that you know about map layouts, we can talk a bit about basic strategy you will see a lot of in Valorant. We will start with some attack side strategy since it's the more tactical side. Some common strategies on attack include rushes, splits, and defaults. A rush is just as it sounds.
Default's a good one to make sure you learn.
It's possible to overwhelm the defense. Splitting is just as it sounds as well. You take middle and split a bomb site through the main entrance of the bomb site and middle. But a default is simple as well. All you do is split up as a team and cover all areas of the map. Look for information.
Default's my favorite play that no one knows.
Or find a pick. A default is also good if the team on defense is getting really aggressive. Moving on to defense, your main goal should be to delay the enemy team from pushing onto sites and stopping the spike from going down and defusing the spike if it does go down. If you know the attacking team is coming to your site, you should do your best to use any utility you have to stall and wait for your team to rotate and assist you. Just be sure that you give your team clear and concise comms. An example of good comms could be if you hear 2 pairs of footsteps outside A main on split, you should say, I hear 2 towards A main. You should also be doing your best to play with or off of your teammates. You need to keep in mind Valorant isn't a solo game, and you should be asking your team to assist you with utility, or even jump peeking an angle for you. Learning about map layout and common strategy leads us right into rotations, flanking, and lurking. When should you rotate? You should rotate when there's close to a 100%
I love lurking.
team is going to another site.
I do too
I
much.
only recommend rotating if the spike is seen, or your team calls that there are 3 or more enemies there. When you do rotate, you should watch out for enemy lurkers on your way and be wary of them, because a lot of times a lurker will be posted up holding for your rotation. Now, when is a good time to flank? You should try to flank the enemy team if they are leaving your part of the map empty off. Applying flank pressure like this is good because the enemy team will start using resources to make sure you aren't able to do it again. So you should only really flank a couple of times a half if they allow you to. On to lurking. What is it and should you be? Lurking is when you stray off from your team on attack to find an opening in a different part of the map while your team is trying to take some map control. Your job while lurking is to find a timing to either kill someone who's rotating and call your team back to you, or find a good timing to flank later into the round. Lurking can be powerful, but I would only recommend doing it on characters like Cypher, Astra, or Omen, as these characters can have impact across the map without needing to be with their team. We've already talked about some Valorant terminology like defaulting, burst strafing, and bonus rounds, but let's talk about a few more we haven't talked about yet that you will hear a lot in rank. One term people throw around a lot of is clutch. A clutch is just somebody who won in a 1 versus X scenario. So if somebody wins a 1 versus 2, they want a clutch. Always remember to hype your teammates up when they win one. Another term you should keep in mind is utility. All people are referring to when they say utility is abilities. Finally, the last Valorant term I want to talk about is lineups. What having lineups means is that someone has practiced throwing a piece of utility at a certain spot to land somewhere specific. Normally, people are talking about Molotov lineups, as they are really useful to have for post-plant situations. Moving on, there are some common callouts across most maps. We've already talked about a lot of maps having a middle, but there are some more common callouts than just that. A lot of maps have a heaven callout. Generally, this is an elevated position that overlooks the bomb site. You'll hear this callout a lot on Split, Haven, Ascent, Bind, Fracture, and Lotus, and generally underneath Heaven is called Hell. Also, on about every map, you will hear people call out front site or back site. All these callouts mean are people are in the front of the site or the back of the site. Finally, another callout you should be looking out for is spawn or enemy spawn. All these mean is someone is where you started the game at or where the enemy team started the game at. Now that we've covered all the basics in Valorant that you need to know, let's talk about how you can make progress on your own. To start off, setting goals can be really helpful. One thing I like to do is deathmatch with a goal in mind. I'll go into a deathmatch and work on getting better at burst strafing, or maybe work on tapping heads. You can do this with anything you feel might be lacking in your own gameplay. Tracking your progress can help motivate you to keep working on your own game and improving yourself. But to have progress to track, you need to make progress first. Here's a couple of things I do to improve at the game. My favorite warm-up routine is going to the range, press the practice button, and shoot at the bots regularly for a few minutes. Then I press F3 to set the bots to strafe and do that for a few more minutes until I start to feel warm. Keep in mind, you should focus on being precise and practicing good shooting habits while doing this. After doing those two things, I'll hop into a deathmatch before I queue into rank just to see where my aim is at. If I feel like my aim is poor, I'll play deathmatch until I feel good about it. But you can use these methods to practice as well. The range has a lot of options to mess around with, and you can reach different elevations in the range to shoot at bots as well. Be sure to practice your skills in deathmatch also. I really recommend setting goals when deathmatching. Now, we can talk about all these things, but you're bound to make some mistakes along the way, and the best way to eliminate easy mistakes out of your gameplay is by recording your games and watching your game. Some questions you should ask yourself when you review your own games are, what am I doing to else that's good for self-improvement is to teams to isolate them to your own peaking position about in mind, and you should get a rating. This was just a glimpse of what we have to offer though. Over at Skill Cap, we've got you covered.
Yeah, that's a good video. That might be overwhelming. We could play some team deathmatch though.
Right.
One thing that makes the game a lot better, I think, though, is Valorant Tracker. I don't think I recommended it at first because it's just one more thing you gotta download and mess with. But it's like a third-party program. It's the same thing that, like, you know, like the tracker if you want to check Fortnite or Call of Duty or your stats on any game. It's a application that runs, and it actually gives you more information in the match. Like when you hit tab during a match, it even gives you like if you died that round, if you got kills that round, it gives you like a skull and stuff. Even just little things like the skull is nice. Gives you a lot more statistics about how you're doing. It's pretty cool.
I'll look into it. But I'm gonna start up Valorant now.
Yeah, I'm launching it too.
I open up Riot client and then Valorant or just Valorant.
You can just go to the bottom left and type in Valorant and launch it. Or you can just launch Valorant if you have it on your desktop. Sometimes Valorant will be weird, and because of their special anti-cheat, it will like make you restart your PC. That's normal too.
206 523.
What?
It does like a multi-factor authorization, or I have to update it. Oh no, it already updated.
Yeah, so I did this new sensitivity. It's 0.285.
Okay. I'll meet you at 2 point. Want to stream Valorant? No, I'm okay. Okay. Settings. Controller crosshair. No. Controller general.
This is general at the top.
Bro, my mouse sensitivity was at 1.
That's crazy.
0.285.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing.
I'm gonna do 0.2. I'm gonna do point. They said 0.35. I'm gonna do 0.30. What about scope sensitivity? Same thing. 0.3.
No, I have that. I don't know why, but it's 1.166.
Mine's 1.
I didn't look up the. What sensitivity are you gonna do?
I don't know.
I mean, you can go a little bit higher than that. The highest you should go though is
Scoped or ADS
for normal. Or I'm saying, what are you doing for normal?
for normal sensitivity.
Yeah.
0.3.
Okay. Yeah, that works. Scoped. I didn't like. I did mine off of what. I don't even know why I did 1.166. ADS for me is just set to 1 because I don't ADS ever. Don't recommend it.
I got you.
Raw input buffer should be on for mouse.
Oh. Okay.
Beta.
I
It
had it
says
off.
BA. The beta raw input on.
I got it. Yep. It's on.
And then he told you map was set to rotate, right?
Yep.
Keep players centered off. Minimap size 1.2.
Yep.
Minimap zoom 1.
Yep.
You got the cones on.
Yep. Show map region names always.
Yeah.
Everything off. Show bullet tracers.
On. Show
Okay, yeah.
show blood on. Visible indicators on. Network buffering minimum.
Yep.
Spectator count I have on. Some people say turn it off if you get nervous.
Use team color for crosshair color.
I have it off.
Yeah. And then the rest off, right?
Off. Show players keybinds
Keybind
on.
minimap.
That's on.
Yeah.
None of that other stuff matters. Other than that, go to one more. Go to video. Video. Instead of general, like top. Hello?
Give me one second.
Oh, no, you're good, you're good. Oh, I forgot Valorant's weird. I gotta switch to this.